Yeah. I'm gonna grab my horn. I'll be right back.
Yeah, yeah. Jim, where are you calling in from?
I'm in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Nice. Excellent. So you're a teacher? Is that
I,
your classroom?
I am a teacher, and school's out, so I'm cleaning up the classroom. But figured I'd some time off and join this.
I love it. I love it. What kind of playing do you do? What's your tuba life like?
Mostly, I play sousaphone in our local honk band, but I I do some Oktoberfest stuff when that time of year comes around, and yeah, pretty casual. But
What's the honk band called?
we're the Mighty P-Jammers.
Mighty P.
Nice.
Is it can I find it on the internet somewhere? Where do I find
Probably, yeah.
it?
Our address is pjamrs.com.
pjamrs.com.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Heck yeah. No, man, I love that. Have you which honk fests have you played?
Just the Honkfest West 2 weeks ago. First time I'd ever been to a Honkfest. Uh,
Oh, how'd you
the
like
first,
it?
I loved it. First time I'd heard of a sousaphone leg off, and they made me go first. That was a little scary.
Wait, sousaphone what? That's the first time I've heard of this too. What is
Oh,
this?
leg off? Maybe it's just the Texas and Seattle ones, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's some people it's like a whole lap dance. I just showed a little leg.
Sonny, what's going on, Chelsea? Good to see you.
I know not of what you speak, man. What's this honk fest stuff?
You don't know about Honkfest? All
I
right,
don't know anything about
raise
it,
your
man.
hand if you have never heard of Honkfest. No, Nathan, have you been to Honkfest?
I haven't been to Honkfest, but the trumpet player of the band I was just telling you about,
Mm-hmm.
he was a member of the group Chaotic Noise for
Okay.
a couple of years. Yeah, and we're hoping our band is hoping to play Honkfest before too long. But yeah, I'm familiar with Honkfest too.
Yeah.
Sort of.
I'm pretty sure the first Honk Fest started in Boston. And if I can recall, I mean now there's Honk Fests all over. And Honk Fest is like when when I let's see if it's Honk Fest. Yeah, honkfest.org. Yeah, when I have like new students. Oh, hey, what's up, Andrew? Good to see you, man. Um Yeah, when I have like new students that like don't have a band to play with, I always tell them to check out Honkfest because it's all like community brass band things. It's a lot of them are like kind of like activist groups and stuff like that. But like so this Honkfest website has like the global listing of like all of the Honkfest bands. And like not all of them are even on here, but there's a ton of them. Um and so like most of these bands, if you hit them up and you're just like, "Hey, I'm a tuba player. Can I play with you?" They'll be like, "Yeah, come through." It's like they're all very like community oriented. There's no money really in Honkfest bands except for some of like I mean Brass Queens is making some money like but they started out as a Honkfest band, and then it's a really good it's a really good entry level place to like get started playing with people, to like start networking with people, to start like just finding musicians in your scene. And like in Brooklyn, there's this band called the L Train Brass Band. That at this point they're like 80 people big. And I would say half of the brass bands in New York City started as offshoots of L Train, where it's just like there's 80 people playing in this band. You meet like five or six of them that you really vibe with, and then you start doing your thing, and you start busking, and you find a bar that will let you play there, and and suddenly you're playing children's birthday parties for $100 each, and
Trippy.
yeah.
Yeah, I knew nothing about that, man.
Andrew, if you're
I love
speaking,
it.
you're muted somehow. You're not muted, but I saw your voice, your lips moving, but I couldn't hear what you were saying.
I heard him.
Oh, you heard him?
I heard it. Yeah,
Weird. That's because you got the old Zoom.
maybe.
I tried muting and unmuting. Is this any
there you go.
better?
Yeah, now I hear you. Now I hear you.
Okay.
Good.
Good to see you. Um, Well, welcome everybody. Tuba Bass Tuesdays. This is just the open hang. We're just here to hang out, here to chit chat, here to talk. If anybody has any questions they want to ask about anything tuba bass, brass band related. Anybody want to play for us and like get some advice, get some feedback, anything. I'm here to help. We're all here to help and listen, and yeah, it's just open. What's Yeah, Nathan, were you gonna do something? Did you want to play?
Before we got reset up, well, first before we go, sure. What the hell? Let's just launch right into it. While we're doing that, I was just oiling my valves while off camera here, but yeah, this is my con.
Mhm.
Got two horns right now. The other one's in the other room right now. But yeah, apparently, Steve, you and I, we have the same horn.
Do you know what model that is? Do you know what it's called?
I don't, but for whatever it's worth, I mean, I can tell you what I know of the story behind this particular horn, and I love telling the story because tubists and a good story and music and all that good stuff.
This horn's got a good story.
I'm a multi-instrumentalist. I sing. I'd have, I won't give you the whole spiel, but yeah, I play guitar, I play bass, I play drums. I'm working on a solo album right now. I'm featured on a couple other albums, but long story short, I started trombone was the very first instrument I ever started playing back in elementary school, and played from 5th grade to 9th grade. And in 9th grade, I was in the symphonic band, and all the upperclassmen were in the wind ensemble. And my band teacher said, if you switch to tuba, I'll put you in the wind ensemble right now. And I said, all right. I was familiar with bass. My dad sang bass in church choir. And, he wasn't a musician, at least not to the caliber that I was, but my dad loved bass. So I've always said to this day, he was my biggest influence as a tubist, bass player, everything like that. And but I'd never really had any desire to play tuba outside of that. And you know how people talk about traumas and those childhood moments that, change you? Well, this is like the white hole version of that. I remember the day he put this tuba in my lap, and it's to this day one of my happiest memories is this giant silver Besson tuba that was like weighed as much as this scrawny little 9th grade version of me did at the time. Yeah. And I remember just playing as, that right there.
You're still not original sounding. Yeah.
Dang it. Okay. Well,
I can hear.
You could hear it?
Yeah. I heard the whole story so far.
Okay.
I heard him talking, but I didn't hear the tuba play.
Okay.
Oh, he wasn't playing tuba yet. Or what were you?
I just played a note on the tuba.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. Then you might need to do original sound.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to original sound, and it's killing me. I can't find it.
Here, so you're on a Mac, right? You're on a Mac now? Okay, so up in the menu bar, hit
right
settings.
corner.
Hit settings, and then when you'll see like general video, audio, and all that.
Here we go. Okay. There. Okay. The original sound for musicians on. All right. Cool. Can you hear this? All right. Good. So I actually played that note right there. And it was like instantly I felt like I just run a mile. Like I was out of breath. I just, I've been playing trombone for years, and that's that one note in this huge, big silver Besson tuba winded me. And it was like the best feeling ever. And I just, I remember I sat in a practice room all through a band class that one day and just, practiced like just all that went through the whole circle of fifths and everything. And the last 2 minutes of class, my band teacher came in and said, "Come on in." And I'm sitting there thinking, what? I'm this nervous little 9th grader, and the class is cheering for me. And he pulls up a chair and has me sit down in front of the whole class and says, "Show us what you've learned." And I'm like, terrifyingly nervous, like, what are you talking about? But I literally just went, and the whole class went, "Yay!" And then, "Yay!" And I played all the way up the B-flat scale, and they applauded every single note after I played it. And to this day, it's like one of the happiest moments of my life, and that's always kind of associated with tuba specifically for the remainder of my life. So roll the clock forward from there. I started playing guitar, I started doing all this kind of stuff, and just blah da 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 da. Life I graduated high school, and I ended up just kind of going away from brass and going into a whole, separate chapter of life. But in the back of my mind, I was always like, I loved playing the tuba, and I'd love an excuse to just, be in a community band or an orchestra or a honk band or something like that, and have a chance to play a tuba. Well, roll the clock forward to actually COVID in 2020, and I moved back to where I am now, Whidbey Island, and I'd started playing trombone again, and I was thinking, I'd love to play tuba, and there's here in where I live in the town of Oak Harbor, there was a music store called Click Music that had like a boneyard pile of instruments that were discarded or used for parts or anything like that. And I walked in there one day, and this tuba was sitting in its case, and I looked at it and said, can I check that out? And check the valves. The valves were a little sticky, but they were all right. Mm-hmm. And I played a note on it, and I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly the horn I want. So at the time, I'll spare you the sob story, but I was going through a custody battle and all this crap that I'm still dealing with. But I'm looking at that horn thinking, God dang, I would love to just, this is at least a $1,200 horn in the condition that it's in. And the owner knew that. And so I was like, well, we're not giving it away for free. Well, that Christmas, my dad handed me $500 cash and said, do something for yourself. You've been going through all this stuff. And so the very next day, I went down to that music store, and I literally walked with the owner. Her name was Avi Rostov. She passed away a year ago, which is part of the reason I love telling the story, because I will forever love this woman for this. I walked up to her and put a $100 bill down on the counter and said, I want that tuba. She looked at that 100 and went, come on. So I put down my next 100. I was like, looked at that and was like, we could rent it for that much a month. So I put down my next 100. And she said, well, I mean, and then I put down my 400, and she said, you're almost there. And I pulled out my last 100 that my dad gave me, and she said, go take it. It's yours.
That's awesome.
That was back in 2020. Since then, this specific horn just came back from Europe in February, where I went on tour with my band Cacophonics, the band I was telling you about earlier.
Yeah.
This tuba has been all over Washington State and parts of Oregon. We did a tour all the way down to Salt Lake City, Utah last summer. And this little $500 junker of a con just is one of my most... I love this horn. I love this horn so much. It has brought me so much joy. And yeah, that's part of why I'm bothered to log into Zoom. So
that's awesome. That's an awesome story. Yeah, the one that I have, so this isn't mine. This is, but it's the same horn. Mm-hmm. But it's my partner Nora's. So Nora comes from a tuba legacy where her father plays tuba and her grandfather was Don Butterfield, the famous tuba player who's on he played tuba on the Godfather soundtrack and on Mingus 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 and was one of the big. But so when Nora's dad was taking lessons with him in I want to say high school, probably, he loved this too. It's a great horn. It's it's kind of the perfect size of it's small enough that you can take it anywhere, but it's still got a nice big fat sound.
Yeah.
And he was like, I love that tuba. Come on, let me buy that tuba. Let me buy that tuba. Let me buy that tuba. And Don was like, I don't want to sell you this tuba, but I do need a new suit. So if you buy me a suit, I'll give you that tuba. And that was how this tuba came into her dad's possession, and now it's she lives with me. It's our just honking around the house. Little horn. Cool. Hey Ben, what's going on? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Let's just do a quick little go now that kind of we're settled in there. Let's just do a quick little hey, I'm this person and I am from here or whatever. Alan, why don't you start?
Cool. Hi, I'm Alan. I am a student of Steve's, even though we got degrees at the same school. I've been I was a professional tuba player for good 2 decades, and then started driving a truck, and that's what you're seeing right now. Background. A call was coming in for a second, so I'm sorry about that.
You're
I was a playing mostly theme parks and such. I got my degree at Temple and got a master's in conducting and tuba performance from Truman State University in Kirksville, Missouri. And at the end of this year, I will be hanging up the keys, so to speak, and I'm looking to start my own honk fest down in Augusta, Georgia. So
Nice.
yeah, that's my dealio.
Love it. Jim, you want to give a little intro?
Sure. I'm Jim. I'm from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I also come from somewhat of a tuba legacy family. My dad was a casual tuba player and sometime band director. And then I'm married a tuba player in college, and now we have a little tuba player at home too. And most of my playing is with a local honk band called P Jammers, which stands for Peace, Justice, Activist Music Rascals of Spokane. But I play a little Oktoberfest stuff too, but I'll pull out my sousaphone here.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
My honk band sousaphone for sure.
That is awesome. With the matching mouthpiece.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Andrew, you want to give a little intro?
Me? Sure. Well, I am probably the least qualified person here. I am actually a chemist who plays with various honk bands and, well, no, sort of. Like I play with Good Trouble. I'm in Boston. I play with the Hot Tamales, which is more of like a parade gig. Um, and I'm in a group that meets like every other week as well. Where I'm the solo tuba player there. I started tuba in grad school because of a combination of lung problems and my overbearing parents. And so I didn't have the same kind of start that probably everybody else here has. But I've been learning for about 7 to 8 years, and I'd like to think I'm getting better. I'm trying to make a more serious effort to do practicing, learning more and more songs, uh, doing more scales, and just trying to fit it in whenever I can with my busy schedule. Right now, I'm at work with a glove box, so I do protein film electrochemistry, where I have this like little cell of electrodes and water, and then I'll put protein on one of the electrodes, and then I measure the current through it, and I get pretty graphs.
I love it. Chelsea, you want to say what's up?
Hi, I'm Chelsea. I'm in Houston. I've been playing tuba since 8th grade, so like, I don't even know. I guess 20 years. Ew. Um, yeah, I'm a new student of Steve's. I just joined like a couple weeks ago, and I'm having fun. I play in like a funk jazz band here in Houston called Free Radicals. And I also play in Houston Symphonic Band. It's like a community band.
Cool. Nathan, you want to give a quick little what's up?
Oh, me again? I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, well, because I just told you that story there. But my name's Nathan. I live on Whidbey Island, Washington, so about 100 miles north of Seattle. And most notably, I play for a band called Cacophonics. I've also played in the Whidbey Island Community Band. Long story short, started playing trombone back in 5th grade and moved to tuba in high school. I mentioned, earlier when we first joined on, I switched to tuba to get to the wind ensemble and loved it. And inadvertently ended up taking something of a 30-year hiatus from brass instruments in general while I focused on guitar, bass, singing, theater, life in general, and got back into tuba during COVID. Got back into brass, I should say, in 2017, and then bought this tuba in 2020. And since then, it was actually shortly after that I joined the band Cacophonics. that has largely, we're working on our second album right now. We finished, actually, I'm sorry, our third album. They had one album before I joined the band, and then we redid that album after I joined the band, and our trumpet player joined the band as well. And we're working on our second album as a full band, third album of the band, if that makes any sense. All original music. Just got back from a European tour back in February. We went to Germany and Holland, and yeah, I really just genuinely enjoy playing tuba, and I'm happy to be
Nice.
here. Yeah.
Ben, you want to say what's up?
That's a bridge, isn't it? To the Netherlands.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Ben's in the Netherlands.
Oh, you're in the Netherlands. Oh, good.
One
Oh
moment.
yeah,
my
I
son is
remember
waking
you,
up.
Ben.
One moment.
Oh, Ben's got to take care of parental duties.
I am. I remember that.
And Nina, I don't know if you want to say hi. I see you got your video
Yes,
off.
I want to say hi.
What's
I'm
up?
glad there's another one from Europe. I'm playing sousaphone in a brass band. We are called the Street Band, and I'm doing this for 2 years about.
Wow.
You said the band is called the Street Band?
The Street Band, yes, that's right.
You said in the Netherlands?
No, in northern Germany,
Oh, in northern Germany. All right, cool. I'm gonna look it
and
up.
we are a marching band.
Can I look? Is there like an Instagram or anything, or is it?
No, sorry, it's not up to me. It's up to our conductor. He's a little lazy in this sort of things.
Das ist ja schlecht.
Whoa!
Ich kann ein bisschen Deutsch sprechen. Nicht so viel, aber ich habe es in High School gelernt.
Was perfect.
Dankeschön.
I love it. I love it. Ben, you ready? You wanna say what's up?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, my name is Ben from the Netherlands. Yeah, I'm playing now sousaphone, I think, for almost 10 years at a typical Dutch brass band. And coming from percussion, so played for almost 20 years snare drum and the big bass drum, so at the marching band also. So yeah, now playing the sousaphone, so stuck on the rhythm section still, and yeah, and I'm a big fan of the con instruments. So I'm owning a sousaphone 20K and a 20J tuba.
Yeah.
So yeah, love to play
You had
those.
two 20Ks, right? Did you sell one of them?
Yeah, I sell one. Yeah.
Ah, good man.
Why do you need two 20Ks? You can only play one at a time. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, me and Nora have so many.
Yeah, of course.
We've got, well, because both of us have our own 14Ks. Like, what, mine is silver, hers is brass. Both of us have the fiberglass versions of those horns that you can put the brass bell in.
36.
Yeah, the 26 or the 36.
36, yeah.
And then the 26 is the E flat. I just got an E flat one, which I
Why?
Well, okay, the reason I bought it was because it's the same bell as the 14K and the fiberglass, and it was a naked lady. It's a naked lady. So like the bell is really, really good and good quality. And then because I had another brass bell that I was using for my fiberglass that was a Pan Am bell that I sold to somebody else. So like basically all for the same money, for the same like $300. I bought that horn, sold the other bell, and now I have a much better bell for that. And maybe someday I'll get into E flat. I don't know. It's still
only for $300. You can't.
for whatever.
Peanuts. Yeah.
I've got a Yamaha sousaphone that I was just telling Alan. I like my Yamaha right now is at a studio with Wycliffe Gordon in Manhattan. He rented it for like 2 days because he's doing a Christmas album. And then the tubas. Yeah, I don't know. It's an addiction. It's a problem.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Each one has its own spirit, its own. I love them all.
You got the E flat so you can read Barry Sachs parts.
I guess so. You know, if I can remember how to read music, I don't know.
Yeah.
Nice.
If I had more money, it wouldn't be safe because I would just buy more tubas.
Yeah.
But and yeah,
I'm
I am
inside the
I am
buying
working
window,
on
so
the moving things to get a little bit more cash. And my apartment's a little bit too expensive for myself right now. So yeah,
Yeah, you said you're looking for a new spot, right?
yes.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, that's
And I'm
awesome.
also doing more job applications. So hopefully one of those two things will happen and I'll get an influx of money at some point.
What I also do for as a hobby is restoring brass instruments, so the sousaphones particularly, and tubas, of course, and yeah, trying to find those little gems, make them playable again, and then or keeping them, or selling them, or and when I keep one, I have to sell another one, which I'm yeah. But that's it for now. But yeah, I have some projects also in the garage to work on. I think 2 sousaphones at this moment and 2 tubas. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I wish I had a garage so that I could work on tubas. Sounds great.
And the attic.
So what are people working on? What's going on in like your playing life? What do you feel like, I'm down to chat about anything, but like if anybody wants any sort of help with anything or any advice about anything, with the playing, with the improvising, with the by ear, like I'm here to help, if anybody has any burning questions that they want to talk about, I want to make sure we have time.
I don't really have any big questions, but I did get a card of a bunch of songs that I'm gonna try to learn how to play
Oh,
so that I
nice.
can pull them out of my back pocket.
Nice. I dig
Uh,
it.
I currently want to learn all blues, so that's what I'm gonna focus on.
All blues is a good one. Jim, I saw you. You looked like you were about to jump in.
Yeah, so I have always been a play off the sheet music guy, and going to Honkfest got me inspired that it's like, oh, there's a lot more to this, a lot more I could do if I could start into the improvising and stuff. So, I mean, I don't have great music theory. I really have a high school music education, and then the rest of my education has been in other things. So where do I even start?
So give us a little more context of like what happens now when you try.
um, well, I mean, I can improvise some oompa type of stuff, but I tend to I'm not good at hearing that staying in key or making that translate to my. I mean, I know when I've gone off key, but just translating that from what's going to sound good next to my fingers and my embouchure. I'm not. I'm playing with it, but it's I'm just starting.
Yeah. How I guess like how well do you know your scales?
I'm a little rough. Yeah. So
Well, that's a huge one.
Okay.
That's like because it's like it's music is a language, right? You have to kind of know how to put the sentences together and how to spell the words and that kind of stuff. And if you don't know the scales, then you're just kind of like you can there. And that's not to say that like I know a ton of musicians who they just do so much playing that they can just get by ear and they have no idea what they're playing. Like there's a lot of people that I've played with like that are just like they're naturals and all of that kind of thing. And like that's totally one, but that also requires just like the type of like most of the people that I'm thinking of in that world are like guys down in New Orleans who were just literally playing all the time, or like guys like that I knew from like the like Philly gospel scene who would just be like shedding together all the time, just and it's just like your ears are so tight that the fingers just wind up doing it by themselves, kind of thing. But the best way to really sort of like fast track that is, yeah, you got to get your scales together in all 12 keys and all of that kind of stuff. It's a huge kind of vibe. And then it's like, it's like, yeah, it's getting your scales together, and then it's also just like forcing yourself to learn stuff by ear over and over and over and over and over again, even though it's like a slow process. I know yeah, I know like Chelsea and I have just been working together for like the last couple weeks and stuff. But even I don't know, I feel like even for you, I've seen some improvement just in like making you learn stuff by ear and getting you to do like how has it been feeling? Are you feeling frustrated? Are you feeling like hopeful? How's it been going? Just like kind of diving into the new stuff.
Um, at first, I don't know, because they do this. I was telling Steve they do this in the free rads where, like, all these guys are, like, really good at the ear stuff and they can just, like, echo each other. And, like, I'm just like, how do they do this so fast? So that's why I joined. And, yeah, so in the classes, we play at all the keys and, like, that, even that stuff is kicking my butt. But I do feel like it's getting better. Like I think I'm actually like starting to hear things, and it's only been like a couple weeks, and I'm like really just like trying to listen in and figure things out. And yeah, so that's been really helping.
I can vouch with what you said there, Steve, that sometimes you just play and it's like an unspoken thing. Your ear and your fingers do eventually start to sync up, because I've noticed that. But I agree. Learning your scales is the way to fast track that. I have this fun thing I do sometimes where I'll just stand at my piano and like play a note on my piano and then match it on my tuba and go all the way up chromatically, like as high as I can on my tuba and high as I can on the piano, and then back down. And what's really nice is you try experimenting with like different fingerings. Like for example, 1 and 3, if you're on a 3-valve tuba, you can get your F and your C in your lower registers, but then you get to where you just need 1 for, I think, it's high C, and then you can do open, things like that. So it's a fun little thing if you just kind of, put frustration and all that stuff aside and just try to match pitch on piano. That's another good way to get the muscle memory into the fingers.
Yeah.
I knew as soon as you started talking about having trouble improvising solos and stuff, I knew the first thing out of Steve's mouth was going to be, have you practiced your scales?
Yeah. I don't think I've practiced scales since high school. So that's good advice. It should have occurred to me, but it didn't.
It really is. It's the founding, it's the basic building blocks of everything. Especially doing them in all 12 keys, because it's just like, it's just kind of like knowing what neighborhood you're in. Like if you're like, oh, we're in C, cool. I know which notes are going to work. I know which notes aren't going to work. You knock out half of your options right away, and then you can sort of like just start tracking like, oh, okay, am I on the 1? Am I on the 3? Am I on the 4? Am I on the 5? And over time, that stuff starts to just like bake itself in and, get it, and like, I know for me, I was always like generally more of a natural ears person, where like it was hard, it was even like it was really hard for me to read music coming up. Like I was the kid who, like, the first time we would sight read through a chart in the band, I was useless. And then like I would listen to the kid next to me play the part, and then I would be like, oh, that's how it goes. And then I would like play it better than him, but like I couldn't figure out how it went at first, type of thing. But once I kind of heard generally how it would go, I could get it and that kind of thing. And or like I remember like my piano teacher, like Chelsea and I were talking about this the other day about how like my piano teacher I would at the end of my piano lessons, I would always like make sure that my piano teacher played my assignment for next week before she left so that I could like really intensely focus on it and like hear what it sounded like. And then because I wasn't reading the music, I was just like copying what she played. And then I would just, figure it out that way later. But it's all, it's very much like there's a lot of ways to skin the cat. There's a lot of ways to get there. It all takes interacting with the music in a way that you're just sort of like trying to hear and like, pitch match and all of that kind of stuff. But eventually it gets easier. Hey, what's
Can
going
I
on,
offer something,
Steve?
Steve?
What's up, bro?
Oh, hold on. Before Steve, where are you calling in from?
Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Oh, welcome. Yeah, I've seen you in the
Man.
group. Yeah, we're just talking about like how to get better at learning by ear, how to get better at like improvising, all that kind of stuff. But Alan,
Yeah.
what are you gonna say?
I just have a suggestion along the scales. I tell you this, when I learned, I learned all my major scales and stuff in high school, right? But I liken that, speaking of language, music as a language, I liken that to learning syllables. When I started to learn the sentences or the paragraphs of music, it came to taking those scales and putting it into using the circle of fifths, because that's what started to give me the understanding of how all the scales are kind of intertwined and interrelated, and also learning your scales in the circle of fifths, or just learning your major scales in the circle of fifths. You've learned your natural minors, you've learned your modes, you've learned, you've learned 2-5-1 relationships, and all of a sudden this thing starts to click. And I used to teach students going through the circle of fifths and basically making them understand you're going from 1 week on this scale to this other week in this scale. You're going from this C scale to this F scale. Guess what? You're learning one note, buddy. That's all you're learning. You're learning one other note, and then you just have to. You're starting in a different place. That's all you're doing. So the circle of fifths is what opened things up to me. It doesn't make me any better of an improviser. I think that requires constant, just hammering, putting yourself in the belly of the beast. And I'm starting to figure that out at age 52. And the only thing to do, the only thing to it is but to do it. And but the thing is, though, is the ear's there. The fingers and the fingers might not be as willing, because I still got that little hitch, but the funny thing is that being able to put it together, hearing where things are going to go, it's there. Now I just got to go to the next evolution and make it come out my head and into the horn. But learning your scales, if that, I think that's the grimoire right there. If you're learning your scales through the circle of fifths, all of a sudden it becomes a really fun game. One, and two, it'll aid. It doesn't act as just rote memorization. You start understanding
Formula.
relationships.
Yeah. The whole you start to understand the relationships behind it. And you hit on a really important point there, Alan, of like, it's one thing to get it. It's one thing to know that, like,
Amen.
you just add a flat and now I'm in E flat, and then you add a flat and now I'm in A flat, or like, you just add a sharp and I'm going from G to D to, and then but it's a whole other thing to spend time on the horn working it out until you can't mess it up.
Yeah. Dig
I'll find a way to mess it up.
it.
I prove that every day.
Are you gonna say something, Steve?
I guess to the conversation, I started I was one of those guys started in church. You know what I'm saying? I was a bass player first.
Yeah.
And but it was like especially like for us gospel cats, you know what I'm saying? It was like weekly, like a lot of the old school church, it was like weekly ear training.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those country, gospel church, just the first like 15 minutes would be this thing called devotion.
Mm-hmm.
And devotion and testimony, where somebody get up like, oh, I want to say how good God has been, he healed my brother, something like that. Or an old lady would get up and it's like, amazing, and you had no idea what key she was gonna be in.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Organ player.
and sometimes it would be some hymn that nobody's ever heard,
He
It's
said,
like, what
"What
is
key?"
that? And
You know,
you're
you
like,
meant what
okay,
keys.
yeah, see, F sharp, it might be B flat, it might be,
All at the
and
same time.
yeah, and week after week is like, because if you had to be kind of on, because you're still kind of in a performance setting, kind of, what
But
I'm
you're
saying?
serving.
It's worship service, but yeah,
You know?
it's still a kind of a performance setting, so you kind of had to hurry up. But what I did learn is, especially with the style called quartet. Quartet is kind of loosely based on blues. You know what I'm saying? So after you start to play kind of a lot of those tunes, you do start kind of realize the pattern. Oh, it goes from the 1 to the 4, okay, and okay, back to the 1, okay, and then to the 5, and so a lot of probably like the first 5 or 6 years of my training was, I mean, it didn't have really anything to do with much notation or anything, just really what does it sound like, and am I playing where it sounds like? You know what I'm saying? And of course, I translated that over to tuba as I started kind of doing a lot more second line and stuff like that. But uh, yeah, I mean, I think it's just a lot more listening, because I mean, music all still comes down fundamentally to sound.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, kind of regardless of your intellect of like note structure and all that stuff, it still comes down to sound. So in a lot of that in my training, I mean, I would try to imitate everything,
Mm-hmm.
commercials thing outside, and now it's wild. I'm like 49, and it's hard to cut it off. But, I would have a conversation. Somebody's like, oh, it's over there. I'm like, over there, because I train my ear. I'm like, okay, can I catch this? And can I like send it back? Because, people say if you can sing it, you can play it.
Yep.
So anything I did, I thought, yeah, I was standing in front of the TV, sitting in front of the TV, trying to figure out the commercials and, theme songs and stuff like that. But
That's a good
No,
point
that's
there. Actually, if you can sing it, you can play it. When I first joined my band, sorry, I don't mean to hijack the.
yeah, good.
yeah, go ahead.
When I first joined my band, so hi Steve, you signed down here. I play in a
Yeah,
band
what's
called
up? Yeah.
Aquaponics. And our band consists of piano, trumpet, trombone, and drums and tuba. And we call ourselves Carnival Circus Punk Rock, and more on that later. They had an album before I joined the band, and I live 4 hours away from almost everybody else in the band, so practice is a little difficult, especially back when I first joined the band. We've worked things out since then. But they sent me all the MP3s of all the recordings, and I'd play them at work. And I'd be walking around where I'd work, and I'd be singing the bass lines, before I even touched a horn. I'd listen to them, and I would like, okay, this part I went bum bum ba dum bum ba dum, and right here, bum bum bum. And I'd just be walking around. I'm sure there's security camera footage of me, doing laundry in this shelter I work, and going bum 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 bum, doing things like that. And
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean that was like half the battle, because once I got to the instrument, it was all up here, and just getting it in here. And eventually, there's only 8 combinations on a 3-valve tuba that you'll eventually find one of them. And you might know they're all 7 before you get there, but that's yeah. But yeah,
This is something we've been talking about in the studio, where it's like it's deep listening. It's like getting it in your head to the point where like because if you're not, if you're trying to grab it while it's happening, it can. I mean, like yeah, you get there, but like you have to be able to like really internalize not only the theory, but like internalize the sounds, like really get it so that like when the music stops, you can sing it back to yourself and you can figure it out, when it's happening or something like that. No, yeah, Steve, I played bass in a Baptist church in Southwest Philly for like 3 or 4 years, and it totally kicked my. I mean, honestly, no, it was my it was my gospel stuff that got me, because I played trombone in Ty Tribbett's band for a little bit, and then I started switching, and then but I was also playing bass in my church, And then
Oh.
I, started playing in this Baptist church in Philly, and they would send me songs at 7 a.m. that I had to learn with like crazy hits, like all that kind of stuff. But then also it was like exactly what you're talking about. Like
Yeah.
just the pastor would just start singing, and
Go.
his son was the organ player, and we would just have to like figure out where to go. And at some point he would start playing a random song, and I just had to like follow. Like luckily I could like see the organ player's feet and
Yeah,
could follow along that way and stuff. But like it really is, it's like one, it's just putting yourself in high pressure situations like that. You rise to the occasion for sure. Like, and whether that's weekly and in front of people.
In front of people.
like you figure out like what to do. And so like for anybody, whether you're doing a church thing or whether you're just like getting together with a band or busking. That's why I for tuba players, I tell everybody busking is one of the best ways to get that type of experience, because you just like, if you can get a crew of people who is down to like go to the park or go like play outside of the baseball stadium as they're letting out and just like that kind of thing, you can just like suddenly get you can get a band going. You can start advertising for that band. You're playing whatever, you're getting your repertoire together. You're playing by ear and doing all of that kind of stuff. It's just like trying to find regular situations where you're pushing yourself, over and over and over again is huge. No, I'm so glad you brought that up, man, because that's like, there are like, before you joined the call, I was telling everybody that like the people that I know who it's like the New Orleans cats who are just playing all the time because there's that, and it's the church cats who are just like playing all the time and are forced into that. They have the craziest ears I've ever met or played with. Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I worked at Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, Virginia, a lot of the cats I knew came from Norfolk State and Hampton, and every one of them that can. Well, I didn't have to tell me they had a church background. All I had to do was sit there and watch them interact with every instrument sitting around, and they,
Yeah, that's the other thing, because like the drummer didn't show up that day, and so you got to sit down on the drums and make it happen.
Where's the piano? And they're all just killing, man, just great musicians, and they've had that exposure to, it's just exposure to this great, musical education since they were kids. It's nuts, man. I love it, and so jealous of it too. So
man,
craziest
I always are the U-Hop guys. Anybody check out the U-Hop sousaphone players?
That's one of the guys in my brass band now. I mean, who plays? Some of y'all might have seen his name is Zoe Blow on Instagram. He kind of does like the 9 different. Like he plays trumpet and then like 2 trombones and like his this is so ridiculous. I can tell instantly. As soon as I hear his tone, I'm like, yeah, you've been in a house of prayer, bro. Yeah. Like they just have this distinct tone. Distinct tone that nobody
it only comes from being like 8 years old, and because like those dudes,
and they just go here.
You spend 8 years just playing whole notes as like the background, because it's like a tuba, 3 guys, like 1 guy leading, 3 like tenors as background to that 1 guy lead, and then like 15 to 20 trombones just playing whole note chords, just and they just get this tone that is just developed over years. I got a couple recordings I can play for y'all if you want to check it out.
Yeah, man, Zoe Blow, bro. Every time I hear him, even he's in the band, I'm like, God, like.
Anytime I'm around my church friends, musicians, man, I'm always sinning because I'm covetous.
But it's funny. I mean, but it was like constant competition too. You know what I'm saying? Because it was like maybe a few people that played what you play. It might be like 2 bass players. It was always like a plethora of drummers. So it might be like 3 or 4 of them. And they're sitting there waiting like, and if their first maybe verse or chorus and you still jacking up, it's like, move over, man. Hold on. You don't know this. Yeah. So it was that pressure of, man, I got to get this now.
Was there a shed culture where you're from in North Carolina? Like people getting together? Is that?
I used to bring my sousaphone. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, I know in Philly, like because back then I was playing trombone, horn
Yeah.
section stuff. But we would do that. It would be like, oh, it's Tuesday night. There's a shed at this
There's
church,
a shed.
and there's 4 drum sets set up, and
Wow.
they're just going,
Yeah.
and the next guy,
Yeah.
and they're trying to mess each other up. They're trying to fit
Yeah. Like,
disform where the one hits so
hmm
that it's so that it goes. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's dope. Yeah. But
But
jam.
but yeah, it is. It's that competition thing.
Yeah.
There's that thing,
That pressure. Yeah. Just adds to
it
that
makes you
pressure.
rise to the occasion. It really does.
Hmm
I'm curious since we're talking about church music. So yeah, I grew up in Washington State. I live in Washington State, and the Pacific Northwest. I mean, we have a little bit of everything. I should say it's like we have a sample size of everything, if you will. Like a lot of what you're talking about, like I'm familiar with because we have some of that where I'm from, but it's not like quite as saturated the culture as it is other places.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
hmm
But that being said, one of the things I've run into is, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, thereabout. For a period of time, I was playing in about 3 or 4 different churches, depending on where I was. I was playing bass at Nazarene Church where I grew up, playing guitar for the Christ King, playing drums for another, doing stuff like that. Mostly just to kind of, get my chops up and try different things. And that was where I really learned the true importance of music theory. Because I'd run into one church that did one song in the key of G, and they knew how to play it really, really well in the key of G. And this church did it in the key of A. And the same musicians, like that was just the most difficult thing in the world for some of these folks to figure out. And I was the one who dig and be like, "Whoa, okay, hold up, just 1, 3, 5, what does that mean? Okay, you're playing an A, D, and a D, you're playing a G, C, and a D. It's the same thing, just a whole step apart. Just do this with your fingers, and I'm curious if that you talk about shed culture and all that kind of stuff. Did you guys run into that?
Oh, that's big now. Like that. You could, man, I could send you some people like on Instagram. Like now, you definitely like it was a point in time where theory was frowned upon.
Yeah.
And only because it was this mysticism if you didn't study. It's like if you just knew how to play, it's like, oh, I don't know none of that theory stuff, man. I just do. It's like, but now people realize it's like, okay, it's okay to be educated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like it doesn't take away from your skill or how how you play. But yeah, now, oh man, you can be a jerk, and they're calling it out from the microphone. You know what I'm saying? They're, like at the end when they start doing kind of the tuning up. Oh, I want to say, and the guy, the MD is in the microphone. He was like, 55512.
Yep.
No. The whole band is like, and he's going on 7145. He's like, okay, he's listening to the preacher. He's going, okay, 44555, and everybody, and it's so it's. It's even more so now. Like
that was exactly how I started to be like, oh, I got to get my numbers together because it was exactly that. He would hold up like I was sitting behind the organ player, and it was for that. It was like when he would be like, especially in the moments where he was like backing up his dad, who was like hitting these it's like, and the Lord said, and he'd be like 5, and now he would just like shout it out. Or hold up his fingers, and that kind of thing, and I would just have to go right with it. It's that, and then, but then it got me in shape for that, and then and then you see like I was in where was I? I was in Guatemala watching these dudes playing, and like the one dude was sitting in with another dude, and like in Spanish he was like the one dude didn't know what he was saying. He's like, oh, 1415, and I was like, oh, 1415. Cool. like I can play that song now, and it's just like it is universal if you can get your Jim kind of all started with you saying that. It's like you get your scales together, you force yourself to learn stuff by ear, and then you start analyzing them by number. You start getting the numbers in your head, and you start getting all of that together. and then all the and then you just do it over and over again, you know, like, and like kind of Steve, what you were saying of like just like music is everywhere,
Mhm.
you know, playing along to the songs in the background of the commercials and stuff like that. Just like when you're like in the grocery store or like
Yeah.
going through CVS and like all those tunes are playing, just trying to be like, okay, cool, it's going like 1, 2, 3,
Yeah. Yeah.
4, 5, 6, 1, you know, like, and you just
Yep.
try and like figure that out in your head.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until it just hits you and you're like, cool, that's what that is.
Oh, shit.
One of the wonderful things about that is that whether you're playing tuba or anything else, it's all the same. Like I did choral music in high school, and do re mi fa sol la ti do is just 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8.
Yep.
And so they'll be singing, do, mi re fa, and once you get the syllables in your head, I've met specifically choral singers that like they can't sing fa on the wrong tone, if that makes any sense. If they know what key they're in, they're like, nope, nope, nope. That's, your ear is so well trained. But it's the same bloody thing as your modes. Your Dorian, Phrygian, Mixolydian. It's just going from one number to the next. And who was it? Was it Alan? Were you talking about? You're just learning another note.
Yeah, it's just one more accidental in the circle of fifths per key.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one more note. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's nothing you haven't already done. It's just knowing how they fit together. And so yeah.
Absolutely. Well, this is great. All right, we're gonna wrap up. I'm gonna as our exit music, I'm gonna play some. I got some U-Hop stuff that we can check out. But yeah, I'm gonna be doing this for, I don't know, from at least through the summer.
Okay.
I'm
loving this. By the way.
Yeah, every Tuba Bass Tuesdays 2 p.m. I mean, yeah, whatever.
Hey, Steve, Sweeney, Tom Sweeney says, "What's up?"
Oh, Scott Sweeney.
Scott Sweeney, yeah.
Oh,
I finally found it. Man, I've been struggling with like this jacked up spit valve for like the last few months.
Man.
I mean,
oh wait, because you were looking. I recommended him, right? Didn't I?
Yeah. That's why I seen. I was like, finally, and sure, like in like 10 minutes, he got me right, man.
Sweeney is like on a whole other level on the fixing stuff, making custom horns and all that kind of stuff. No, I'm glad.
And you can tell he's passionate about it.
Oh, he loves it. No, he freaking Brass Queens. Nora, my girlfriend, she plays in Brass Queen. They went down there and he just like hooked them all up. Like all of them needed like little thing. He like hooked them up. He's like, no, I'll invoice you. I'll invoice you.
Good
like
guy. Yeah.
Never did it.
Yeah.
Like didn't care. He was just like
good look.
such a good dude. Such a good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see what this is. What I got here. Oh wait, hold on. I got the wrong. Wait, give me a second. I got the wrong audio source coming. Wait for it. A second. I'm sorry. There we go. I don't even know who this is. This is just rant. It just says U-Hop 6.
Hey, go for it.
Like a Saturday afternoon.
They just got this. Energy. Intensity.
Maybe dressed up in their Sunday dresses.
Yeah.
Man,
All right, that's all you get for now. All right, I'll see you guys later. See you next week.
See you.
Tuba Bass
See y'all guys.
Tuesdays.
Thanks
Thanks
so
for the
much.
hang, man.
Sweet.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody for coming. Come on next time.
what's next time?